Yo, I'm probably one of the biggest Sonic glazers you'll ever meet, and I would glaze everything about this blue schmug, from all the games, the story, and even his nice feet. But even as a Sonic glazer, you cannot deny this awful and traumatic history Sonic has had over the years. From the first Sonic games being a pop phenomenon and being top of the world alongside Mario, and even dominating him in some areas, doing what Nintendo don't over the years, there have been a decline in quality from the games, and that was definitely noticeable after release of 2006. There's one thing that always remained consistent though, the soundtrack. Why is it through all the trash and all the poop the games have been, the soundtrack keeps being so fucking good? Sometimes it's like Sega is flexing their music. Like when I played Sonic Adventure 2, I could barely hear what they were fucking saying because the music was so loud.
He has mistaken me for the likes of you.
Well, to answer this question, we have to go back to the past Samurai Jack, to the beginning, Sonic the Hedgehog 1. During the development of the first Sonic the Hedgehog game, they already planned to have a fire-ass soundtrack. It started with the director of Sega, Fujio Minegishi, had close connections to the music industry, and he suggested Yuzo Kayama, which is this guy who made this beautiful orchestral music. But Sonic Team was like, hell nah, let's go with the guy in the J-pop band. Dreams Come True, they were called. They got the bassist and songwriter Masato Nakamura, and this sounds all great. They got a J-pop band to compose their music, even though they literally just founded the band, which could be too bad, right? But there was one problem. He had never composed music on the computer in his life, and he didn't even have access to the video game he's composing for. The only thing he had access to was the concept art. So he composed the music based on that. Kinda like if it was a movie. And you would think that this would kinda be a recipe for disaster, but somehow he created the most recognizable song in pop culture history. After the massive success of the first game, Sega thought, what if we make an in-house soundtrack for the sequel? Which means not hiring any external or freelance artists, and only use artists and use music that's within the company, you know, to save money. Sonic Team, however, rejected that because the soundtrack they played was so fucking ass.
Hello?
Hey, bro, that verse you sent?
Yo, what's up?
Hey, you gonna have to come harder, bro. I ain't really feeling that, bro.
So they brought the GOAT Nakamura back. And it wasn't gonna be cheap because the first game made bank. So Nakamura wanted them to pay the hell up. So again, he only used the concept art since he only had access to that. And it was a success again. This was the start of Sega to hire already established music artists and really weigh heavy on the soundtrack. It sounds like that Sonic Team actually really cares about what music is getting used in the game. And I think that trend has kind of continued into the other games in the franchise. For Sonic Hedgehog 3, they went all out. They did not hold back when it comes to the soundtrack. They got the king of pop, Michael Jackson, to compose the Sonic 3 music. And he was the one approaching Sega because he was apparently a Sonic fan. I mean, who would have thought? This was a long time theory among the fandom, but got confirmed not too long ago during the re-release of the game for Sonic Origins. And Sonic Origins is this collection of the old Sonic games. The co-creator of Sonic the Hedgehog tweeted about the soundtrack for Sonic Origins being changed seemingly, confirming that Michael Jackson worked on the game. However, he only got the chance to compose like one track since some allegations came out. The reason he also never got credited, and it always remained a mystery, was because he wasn't happy with how the music sounded on the Sega Genesis. They also got another band who composed for the game, the Jetsons, and they got the legendary Crush 40 member Jun Senoue, who would put a massive impact on the music for the franchise. Crush 40 creating one of the most iconic songs like Live and Learn, Escape from the City, and many, many more. Sonic started off with electro-pop in the Genesis games, but over time, they've gone mostly in every single genre. Drum and bass, orchestral, hip-hop, lo-fi, metal, jazz, and obviously rock and roll. Within each of these genres, used in the perfect setting. Drum and bass for that fast-paced gameplay. Orchestral for that cinematic feel. Hip-hop when you play as Knuckles because Knuckles is black, obviously. I go on and on. It really gives the impression that the music is way more important than the gameplay, which is bullshit. That shouldn't even be the case at all. Sure, the soundtrack can do a lot for a game, but for a game like Sonic when gameplay plays such a big role, why? Well, I'm about to tell you. Looking at other Sega games, Jet Set Radio, Yakuza, Streets of Rage, Persona, all games with incredible soundtrack. And these are all amazing games, by the way, but it always seems like the soundtrack is not up to par when it comes to Sonic. And that's because Sega wants their music to stand out, and they kind of have that long history of doing so. And I think they just want that momentum to keep going. Since their first Sonic game, they've gotten big names to compose their music and hired the best composers in the industry. There's a Sonic Symphony World Tour as we speak. If the game don't sell, shit, the music might, alright? There is one Sonic game with the most awful soundtrack you will ever hear from anything. Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. They hired a 12-year-old producer from Detroit. Let me actually look up the producer here. Got the Minister of Human Resources of Malaysia to compose this? No wonder it sucked. If we look at how Sonic games sound right now, since it changes so drastically each game, Sonic Frontiers and Sonic X Shadow seems to be metal, EDM, drum and bass, and I deadass think that's the best Sonic has ever sounded musically. Don't get me wrong, I love Crush 40, but this is the best sound that fits Sonic, in my opinion. Let me just emphasize that. In my opinion. I just want to clarify, I'm not saying that Sonic game still sucks, but there was a point where they did, and we can all agree on that. But right now, we are living in a Sonic renaissance. Not only are the games good, but every other aspect as well. In the time of this recording, the Sonic 3 movie is not out yet, and I hope that they play one of the iconic songs that Sonic is known for. They played the song from the game. They did it. If I had to say something, is that they didn't play it long enough, and they could have at least included more vocals than just the chorus. But I'll let it go. I just hope they do that more for the next movie. It was good. I hoped, and they delivered. Thanks for watching.